Representative Matt Gergely, Democrat from Allegheny County, how well are bars and restaurants doing with their bottom line since the COVID-19 pandemic?
Larry, first let me say thank you for having me. I love PCN. I'm a big fan. The bars and restaurants now are starting. We're starting to finally see a comeback and rediscovery of people wanting to go back outside. How much we need that kind of entertainment and socialization, fresh air, just getting out of the house and getting back into our normal routine. It so much helps mentality and even physical well-being. And we're starting to see that come back now. And I always wanted to be a part of. What could we do to help these businesses, restaurants that took such a toll on them during a pandemic that was very confusing and difficult times for people. And obviously it took their toll on our restaurants and bars and establishments of all sorts. So being in this position now, I'm very fortunate to be able to actually get legislation into the House that, really helps these restaurants and bars and all social establishments of all kinds to finally get back on their feet and, start turning a profit and hosting and having a good time for all.
And Representative, before we get into how you have chosen to help bars and restaurants, first tell us about the limitations of happy hour, which your legislation has to do with.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy
what
hours.
were the limitations before your legislation went into law?
They were only allowed a 14-hour happy hour discount. This law changes it, lets businesses do what they want without the government oversight and allows 24-hour-a-day happy hour specials. However, that establishment chooses to set them up and offer them is now in their hands and not law to say, hey, you can only do this and that. As long as you do it responsibly and in the right way, I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great thing. Now, it really, without a doubt.
Now, like you said, your legislation, again, which is now signed into law, is extending happy hour. And before it was 14 hours a week. That was the limit. But it didn't occur to me that government even had something to do with limiting that. Tell me about that.
I found out during the course of this procedure with how this act started, the intentions of it, there are a lot of old laws and some of them were put there for different reasons. And we could really get into that, but some of it gets really in depth. And some organizations and some people wanting to have their hands on things just to control the way these places were ran. And I think what we're seeing now is some normalcy put back into that by allowing them to make those decisions and turn the profits they can in the most feasible way and efficient and effective.
Now, since lawmakers have authority here, just how much authority does the bar or restaurant in question have in controlling happy hour? Certainly they want some control.
Well, now at this point, this law, has been signed. It allows them to create their own hours of happy hour anytime they want, how long they would like. Whereas before, there was a 14-hour period of certain times, and now that they're free to do as they like and see fit to make it the best experience for their establishment.
Well, under the new law, I thought that there was a finite number of additional hours being added to the 14.
It's 24 hours now. It's right. 24 hours. It's 24 hours a day up from 14. It also allows 2 food and alcoholic beverage specials, I think, as opposed to just the one from before. So it really opens the gates. Obviously, you can only sell liquor based on the hours of your permit, but some places are different with that as well. So, and you can do your happy hours in different ways, even without alcohol in some cases.
So how was the new limit of 24 hours for happy hour per week? How was that decided to be increased over 14? There must have been some debate. How did you zero in on that number?
Great question. The reason that being is when we started this, it was started for a different reason. It was started to help employees. We can get into that later. As far as the 24 hours, we were looking at the bill and saying, really, what can we really do to be effective here? We saw what COVID did to these establishments, bars, restaurants, all of them. And we thought, well, what makes some common sense to say, hey, let's offer these things, let's give these back, make some concessions, allow them to loosen some of these things in a reasonable, feasible manner. And that would help them, again, with their business in the long run.
Now, often bills include other things, and in this case, besides expanding happy hour up to a maximum of 24 hours per week, I understand the bill, or rather, again, it's written into law now, includes a special event and somehow, like the Super Bowl, for instance. How does the Super Bowl figure into this new legislation?
Well, with these more lax, not only lax, but there's still laws, and we're still going to regulate them appropriately and safely. It just allows them to offer things throughout that day, through the whole day, and more specials, and just really gives the businesses and the owners of these businesses, a lot of times small businesses that are affected the most. That's what we were focused on, allowing them to do what they can to compete against the chains and make their business as profitable as possible, and keeping people employed. I mean, a lot of people count on these places as their careers.
Now, there might be a lot of ideas out there for improving business at bars and restaurants. Why is expanding happy hour, in this case, the right solution for improving business?
Again, this now has become Act 57 as opposed to HB 29, where we added several different concessions, not just the happy hour, but even when it began, the intention of me personally, when I was working with the staff, and it was to open up employees of these liquor establishments, whereas qualified employees could only work at one of them, and you couldn't work anywhere else. And that hurt the employee and the employer, because they couldn't hire the people that are qualified that they needed. And the employee who was qualified to do a great job couldn't go anywhere else and do it. It just had to be at that one establishment. That's how this initially started. And these other amendments came to be a part of it.
Now, here's a reaction from the owner of a Harrisburg Tavern. He says his business is good, so he doesn't need to discount drinks. So he isn't as excited about expanding happy hour as some other establishments might be. How would you respond?
I could say even that bar, all the things we've already said, this also had a huge impact on allowing us outside seating and the way we serve food outside. There were temporary restrictions put in place, or not restrictions, concessions made when COVID came in, to allow these establishments to do different things outside, and how far they did them, what they could do, and how long they could do it. Those have now been taken from temporary to permanent, and allowing several different outside options with what you can do outside as well, dining and socialization and entertainment.
What was it like working on this bill while lawmakers were working on the budget? I mean, everybody has limited time to work on things.
Things were wild. Fortunately, unfortunately, you're there very long during those days during the budget, very, very long. So myself being there and not being part of everything, you're only involved in certain things sometimes, gives you some time to do these things. And I was very fortunate it was the perfect storm. I was there. I had the research team, Chairman Deasy and Fee. They were outstanding. I mean, I can't thank them enough. They are just great people who worked together. I can't say that enough. That's one of the things I learned about Harrisburg almost immediately is you want to get things done, you have to have an open mind and work together. And that's what we did here in this case. And I was very nervous that this bill wouldn't see the light of day because of the amendments that were getting put on. And there were so many of them. Usually something like that then gets shut down and put in a drawer somewhere because of all these amendments. And sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. In this case, they were all positive on both sides. We came to agreements. I was very, very lucky, very fortunate in this manner, but we worked very hard, all of us together, to get this done.
Last question, Representative. As we pointed out a couple times during this program, the legislation is signed into law. However, that doesn't mean it takes effect immediately. When does it take effect?
Yeah, I believe it'll take effect here at the end of the year. This is now my second. I'm very, very proud to say this is my second bill we passed into law and signed. I have a great, fantastic staff, and those things take a little time to get put into place. But in some of the course of the nature here with this liquor establishment bill, they're already temporary in some cases. So they'll just switch from temporary to permanent when this bill officially becomes law. But the governor has signed both my bills, and I couldn't be more excited. I've been a year and a half here now, and these bills were signed within a year and a couple months of me being here now, and I couldn't be more proud of it. And it's because of the people around me, my staff, and everybody in Harrisburg that works together.
Representative Matt Gergely, Democrat from Allegheny County, thank you.
Larry, thank you so much. I appreciate it.